Greetings, fellow explorers. This is Tony with Fount Systems Network, and we're here in pursuit of low-carbon innovations for industrial wastewater treatment. This is my second episode from my conversation with Mark Hayes, and here Mark shares his story of exploring a hydromining concept that he pursued some years ago. You're probably aware that hydraulic fracturing, or fracking, that's taking place in states like Oklahoma and North Dakota produces really large amounts of wastewater. Now, the industry calls it innocuously enough produce water, but if you look at what's in it, it contains really high concentrations of salt, oil, as well as toxic chemicals. Usually what the industry does is they partially treat it, and then they inject it back underground in deep injection wells. Here's Mark's story, where he was pursuing an idea to reclaim useful materials from that wastewater. Stay tuned.
God, what is the name of that publication? I haven't looked at it for a long time, but it's basically the National Enquirer of Scientific Papers. If you can't get published anywhere else, they will publish you.
Oh, I think I need to try and get published in there. I think I have the qualifications for that.
and a lot of them are, a lot of it's just garbage science, but every once in a while you'll find this little nugget going, you know, this guy's not as nuts as everybody thinks he is. He's a little bit off base, but his data is good and his conclusions might be a little sloppy, but his methodology was really good, you know, and I think if we twist it a little bit, we could make something happen here. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, it's that was the source of where I got the working theory of using organic acids and inorganic bases to treat oil brine, because I happened across one of these papers. Mm-hmm. And a purist chemist would say, thou shalt not do that. Mm-hmm. You operate in one or the other. You either work in organic or inorganic. You don't cross the streams like Ghostbusters. Uh-huh. Bad things will happen. Well, the funny thing is, when you cross the streams, a lot of good things happen. Mm-hmm. You got to be careful sometimes, or you'll blow the windows out of the lab. But good things can happen.
Did you pursue that idea, or?
Yes, and I was able to turn oil brines that had dissolved minerals at the 270,000 parts per million level, mm-hmm. Which was considered to be completely untreatable. I was able to pull out so much of that metal that it was at a TDS below seawater, and you could just run it through an RO.
Wow.
Well, we go right back to the same problem. Who wants the pile of solids that's left at the end of the day? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's where we tripped at the finish line, because no mineral company wanted to come into oil country. Oil companies didn't want it. Mm-hmm. They wanted the pure water, and I demonstrated on a bench system how I could make pure water for them all day long. But at the end of the day, they're, you know, even on the tabletop unit, I had like 3 bushel baskets of rock. Mm-hmm. What do you do with this? Mm-hmm. And because it's concentrated seawater, calcium chloride, calcium sulfate, you know, right down the line, things you don't want floating around in nature out in farm country. Mm-hmm. You know, they got to be contained.
So you didn't want to try and haul that to the landfill as part of the business model?
No, because landfills wouldn't take it.
Oh, it's that bad. No kidding.
That's not that bad. It's just they're salts, mm-hmm. and most landfills have great limitations on ash and salt.
Because for biological decomposition processes in a landfill?
It's not that part. All landfills leak. That's okay. The problem.
Okay.
And if that stuff were to get out into the groundwater, now the remediation process would be that much greater, mm-hmm. because you never know what's in ash. Mm-hmm. And ash, honestly, is mostly salt. Mm-hmm. I mean, you burn a chunk of wood, the ash that's left over is literally the salt from the tree. Mm-hmm. You know, in this case, we had a ton of salt, what we did try to do is we tried to market it to the northern states as a salt supply for the roads.
Uh-huh.
But again, nobody would go into oil country to go get it. North Dakota wasn't thrilled about the idea of running dump trucks where there are too many oil trucks going already.
So you got pushback on traffic issues.
Every issue, you name it.
Okay.
Even though it is a very elegant and beautiful process, there was just an unbelievable pushback because of the stigma of oil brines. And we were recovering the oil. Whatever oil was left, we were recovering 99.98% of that.
Mhm.
So the amount of oil left was not even worth mentioning.
Mhm.
And we were recapturing the radioactive component, so that wasn't an issue. But again, nobody wanted that stuff being moved out of the oil patch because, like I said, traffic, there's too many trucks on those roads already. We certainly don't want more.
Mhm.
The trains are overloaded already.
Mhm.
Hundreds of thousands of miles of pipeline are built out there in North Dakota simply to move the oil to a spot where the trains can get to it easier without going all the way up to Williston.
Mhm.
So
To reduce the number of
there-
trucks.
yeah, there's a ton of issues that at the end of the day, you couldn't make a dollar on it.
Mhm.
Well, it was good for the environment. It was good for this. It was good for that. It looked beautiful on paper. But when you started putting the numbers to it, yeah, breaking even was even kind of a dream.
Pretty interesting, huh? I really love that Mark was pursuing it independently and that he was looking at ways of reclaiming materials that are useful and valuable from something that other industries produce and consider as waste. There needs to be a lot more of this effort going forward. What do you think? Is hydromining, produce water, something worth continuing to pursue? Do you think someone else is going to come up with a way to make it profitable? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Well, that's it, everyone. Keep exploring, keep growing. I'll see you next time.